meeting to order. Let's see. Minutes, we have a couple. We're going to hold off on that, as well as a contract from Ken that we're going to go over next time when Jim's back. We do have an invoice here to go over. It's for the amount of $1542.15, and that's for the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to the town of Granby from January 1st, 23 through June 30th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll approve the motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. So next we have a discussion for a private event venue, site plan review / special permit application. I'm assuming that's you guys? Okay. So did you have questions for us, or what were you here for tonight?
This time, we were really just looking for a special event permit.
Okay.
To be able to run events throughout the year.
Okay.
Without any special requirements per event, because we're not really sure when they can happen.
Sure. Sure.
Book events going forward, just looking for permission to do that on our property. Just kind of wondering what our angles are and what we need to do to get there.
Okay. Okay.
So, because it's hard to say, like, book out something, we don't, if we say we have to apply every single time, then we have to wait to get approved every single time, if there was like a yearly review, something like that.
Ken, can you speak on that?
So the town passed a special event venue bylaw back in 2021. And it does allow for certain types of events there's some requirements based on this current zoning, and I'll give you some notation if you want to take note. It's currently posted on the town's website. Actually, this was passed in 2022. The town's website under Granby zoning bylaw, and it's on page 90 and 91, and it's section 5.14 special event venue.
You said 514?
Yeah. And so the general requirements are the minimum parcel size shall be 10 acres in the residential single-family zoning district. Adequate area of all weather surface for off-street parking shall be provided. No parking will be allowed on public or private roads. And then there's a subsequent section of the bylaw that discusses parking and some of those requirements. Private event venues shall have adequate water and wastewater facilities, either permanent or temporary, approved by the Granby Board of Health. So that would require, permits by the Board of Health. I think what the board and what the town adopted also includes no overnight accommodation for transient guests. There is a required buffering of 200 feet on all sides of the property, not abutting a public roadway. Special events, commercial business activities are not permitted within the buffer area, in the interior of your property. And it talks about what can be considered in the buffer areas, the existing or planted agricultural crops, and among some other items.
So 200 feet.
Required buffering of 200 feet shall be provided on all sides of the property. So, depending on the size of your property, just contemplating within that. You're going to be required to submit a site plan.
Okay.
So you can spell out, with what within that activity, within that area.
That didn't include the road though, right? The main road? That doesn't include?
That can include the road through the property. This is you would be the first application. So
it's not my property line, it's like above where we're hosting the event, it's 200 feet.
The way that I feel that reads is that's the sides of the property, so that is the property line.
Okay.
So you're having to focus your activity in the interior of the property.
Yeah.
I think the board may be open to, if you can't meet some of those, or if that's something, but I think during the site plan that obviously will become
Yeah,
more clear. The site plan shall comply with any zoning requirements for signage and lighting. So if you have signage or lighting, there are some underlying zoning standards that are in the zoning bylaw. And lighting typically is the minimum lighting necessary for site safety,
Okay.
but shall be directed away from adjacent properties, so you don't want
Right.
light pollution.
Okay.
Structure, and I think the most important is, structures in certain events may require additional licenses or permit approvals from other town departments and boards.
Like a size of
Yes, so the thing is, the planning board will basically be approving the property to be used as a special event venue. So I think to your point, what you were saying about the suggestion of how you would go about applying for permits. If you had one-time permits, let's say you had, you were serving alcohol, you obviously would need to get your permits through the town, through the liquor licensing board.
Right.
That wouldn't, you wouldn't have to come out of the planning board. Once the planning board approves the property as a special event venue,
Yeah.
you're all set with regards to that zoning
Okay.
component.
Okay.
The other requirements are if you're planning to serve liquor, if there's gonna be food, you know,
Okay.
what, and the board of, it's
Board of
likely that
Health.
the board of health will be that entity
Cool.
that helps you. And then within the application, as when you take a look, there's just required things that you wanna address in your narrative, like what you're planning to do with your property. If you own it, which you do, you know, how you, when you plan to, generally like list the months of operation, and then, you know, propose types of events
Sure.
and whatnot.
Sure.
But everything is listed in the
Everything's in
bylaw,
there, okay.
yeah, and you can just address it.
Alright.
So we did go over that, just for an example, last fall when we did a one-time special permit, we were approved and we held an event back in October. Now we had a site plan drawn up like for parking and such, we would basically just be resubmitting that for more of a, you know, yearly review for you guys. And then at what point do you guys approve, you know, once you go over all of the paperwork, then we come back to a meeting?
Do you guys,
what's
would you
the
guys come out
process?
for a property and?
If the board wants to do a site visit, they
Okay,
can.
cool.
Okay.
But typically, the way it works is, this is a special permit through the planning board, so you would be required to submit a physical special permit application, go through the town office,
Yeah.
fill that out. There is a process by which we need to post it in the newspaper, as well as inform the abutters of the public hearing.
Okay.
And that typically happens, so like if you were to put an application in, let's say Friday,
Yeah.
the first, the board would probably be able to get you in, not at the next meeting, but the first meeting or not the end of July, the second meeting in August.
Okay.
So it's dependent on when you submit your application, get it before, get it to the town, approve, and have the town approve its completion, and then they'll post it, notify the abutters, and go through that process.
Awesome.
And this is a
We
one-time
sent
thing,
that-
right?
We sent that all over to Kathy the other day, actually we wrote a letter for our abutters as well, so she has that.
So she
as
said,
well.
oh, that's definitely followed up on
Yep.
And this was a one-time permit. They're not gonna come back yearly for this. For
Yes.
us, it's just once
that.
you're gonna
Just
come.
once and then we're gonna-
It typically is that. You know, I think the way, and the board has every right to condition its approval. So if the board wanted to, let's say, as you mentioned, in a year, just kind of assess what types of events you've had, you know, you come back before the board at a regular meeting, and the board can ask, hey, how did you do? You know, because if they've maybe heard some complaints from, let's say, the abutters or from the police department, the board may just want to be aware of that
Absolutely.
and address that.
For sure.
But, yeah, so that is typically what will happen, when you get to the public hearing component. The board will open the meeting, the abutters will have the ability to address you, question, and the board may have some questions. And then a decision is rendered, and, you know, you go from there.
Okay, so yeah, so that will follow our permit application, come back to you guys, and then our abutters will get their information, know that we open the public forum,
Yeah, so, you may want to, I don't know what you physically submitted to, Kathy, but it's likely you'll need to fill out an actual, like, zoning permit. So I think, I may have seen some documents that you've shared with her, because she shared them with me. And it looked like narrative, it looks like some, you know, drawing plans, or like some crude drawings of what you want to do with your property. But to make it official, it would require a fee and an application form. You're welcome.
That answered the questions you guys had?
Yeah,
Just-
actually, one more question I had
Sure.
for you guys, signage, we're looking to put a sign up in front of the farm at some point. Obviously, application comes before you guys can come back and do the same thing.
Yeah, so there is a signage section of the zoning. I'll give you that citation. It is, where is that? It's section 5.5 of the zoning bylaw. It starts on page 52. And basically in that section, because you are in a residential zone, there's specific signage criteria. Like you can't, there's certain sizes, I don't know it off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but it's listed there as to what kind of signs, how it should be lit, you know, things like that.
Okay.
And presumably what you can do too is, if you wanted to include that within the context of the special permit, or just do the special permit first and then figure that out later.
I'll do that, do all that.
Yeah, if you're able to do that,
Yeah.
that way the board can take that on.
Okay, that's awesome.
Does the board have anything else you wanted to add to that, or
No,
we're good?
no.
Ken pretty much covered it.
Yeah, you did a great job.
All right.
Yeah, I think that would be good for us, we got some homework, we can go do something like that. Obviously, I guess.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to be mindful of is depending on when a complete application is turned in, that's when
It starts.
when it
So right now it's
starts.
not-
So, yeah, so, you know, if you happen to have everything by
Right.
Friday, presumably, we could get it on that second
Okay.
August meeting.
Right.
But it is dependent on when that's submitted.
Yeah, we'll get it.
You basically, I think, wait a month to get it, yeah.
That sounds good, that's reasonable. Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You guys too, enjoy.
And I think the only other thing that we have our two discussion topics, the growing facilities and the wireless telecommunication towers. I think I'd like to wait until we have a full board, to continue those discussions.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody else had anything else, or? Anything from you, Ken?
Not that I can think of, other than,
Do you have any administrative? I thought we were gonna,
there were 2 sets of minutes that were issued, but, you'll have the remainder for your next meeting. Yeah, I sent 2 sets of it, like, at 3 o'clock, so
Okay.
you wouldn't have time to review it anyway. But this way, you'll have the 2, of which I have copies for everyone, and then you'll have the remainder for your following meeting. But I mentioned to Jason that it doesn't require the folks that happen to be at the meeting, just because it is an administrative task. However, I think usually the board does want that to happen, but that's just for information, because Bob no longer is on the board, so obviously he's a vote that cannot count.
Right.
So, just to be mindful of that. But.
Okay. All right. So if we've got nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
oh, go ahead.
Second motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.